Welcome to Intuitive Seek. My name is Mary Treen, and as an intuitive guide, energy healer, and meditation teacher, I aim to bring you a grounded approach to all things energy and intuition. Everything I share is with the hope to help you remember how your unique power of intuition is your own greatest teacher. Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to your intuitive week of January 20th, 2025. How are you? How was your week? Thank you to everyone that reached out about last week's episode and appreciated the resources I shared and also what I shared about what not to say to people going through grief and loss and destruction. So thank you. Thank you for listening. And I hope you had a good week. I know there is so much going on, as always, but maybe a bit more than usual in the world right now. And the point of these energy impressions are to help you come back to your center, come back to your intuition, come back to yourself so that you don't get swept away by what is happening around you. So you can be aware and intentional. And when you aren't, you're able to come back quicker than usual. So before I dive into the energy impressions, I wanted to share a little synchronicity. Last week, we had the scarab beetle, which part of the symbolism was meaningful coincidences. And that was part of the energy impression, was to look out for meaningful coincidences in your life, to look for the magic. And I had a really beautiful one. Last week, I had an orchid was sent to me out of the blue as a thank you, but from a few months later, so it was really out of the blue. And beautiful white orchid with lots of violet in it, and it really made my day. It's so lovely to receive flowers, but this orchid was really special. But then I talked to my sister the next day, and I told her about the orchid I received, and she said, "Oh, that's so weird." And I said, "Why?" Because she told me that she had been gifted an orchid in early fall last year, and it had not had any flowers on it. It was an orchid plant for her to keep, but there were no flowers. So she had been taking care of it, and it had bloomed. It had bloomed for the first time the day before. So we both had this orchid experience. We both received orchids in different ways. And this felt really special and meaningful, an extra meaningful coincidence because our family is going through some really tough health issues right now. And the orchid synchronicity reminded me of the love and strength and resilience and the cycles of life as well for our family. And even though we live in different cities across Canada, so we are not together often, this orchid synchronicity reminded me of how connected we are always, and that our strength and our love is something that does persevere. So I hope that you also had some synchronicities that you paid attention to, some meaningful coincidences. And if not, keep your eyes out because maybe this week is the time. All right, let's get into the energy impressions for your intuitive week of January 20th. Now, if you are new to the energy impressions, Welcome. And if you are not, welcome back. Thank you so much for listening. And if you are new, these energy impressions are where I go into a nice deep meditation with the intention of receiving insight and guidance for the week ahead. And this comes in the form of ideas, visuals, messages, words, animals, anything that I can translate into something that we all may need to know that will help us navigate through the week with more clarity. And then I finish the episode with some journal prompts, soul questions that you can answer that will help you connect more to what you need to know about this week. But what I share is with the hope that it will allow you to connect to your intuition in a deeper, more meaningful way. So this week in my meditation, right away, puzzles came in. Puzzles everywhere. Different pieces of the puzzles mixing together, moving out, trying to fit, moving in, more pieces coming, pieces leaving. A big puzzle that the universe, is trying to put together. And this felt like guidance around paying attention to problems that have solutions in your life. Something that may seem like a puzzle that cannot be solved. Right now, it may be the best thing to do is to stop searching for the pieces, stop trying to put it together, step back, and allow solutions to come to you. Open up to receive the solution instead of pushing forward and trying to make a solution fit. So if you are trying to figure something out this week, trying to solve a puzzle, the answer may not be in you trying with more effort to figure it out. The answer may be in releasing your grip on trying to fit those pieces in, releasing your control over the situation, and allowing a solution that you may not have thought of because you were focusing maybe too much on the problem, opening up your perspective, zooming out a bit, and allowing a solution that may come out of the blue to help you. And this solution may not be another piece of the puzzle. This solution may be a person or an idea or a whole shift in mindset or the story you're telling yourself, where you will look at this problem and perhaps realize it's not a problem at all. Or maybe it's not your puzzle to solve. So this was a big theme of this week, is to kind of let go of the problem. Leave the puzzle for a minute. Put down the pieces and open up to new solutions that you hadn't thought of because you're not making enough room for something new to offer you help or support. And then the image came in of a fence with grass on either side, but a very literal translation with one side of the fence having very bright, extra green grass. And this felt like the old cliche of how the grass is always greener on the other side. And this felt like a reminder to all of us to stop comparing yourself, your life, your process, your situation, your wins, your losses, everything. Stop comparing with someone else, with the other side of the fence. As we know, comparison is the thief of joy. But this time, it feels as if we can get so distracted, not even a thief of joy, but a thief of attention, a thief of our own opinions and our own thoughts and ideas and inspiration. Now, those can all be put under joy, but it felt like this week, especially when you find yourself comparing what you are doing to someone else, something else, pause, take a pause, and make sure that you are conscious in that moment. And make sure that it is true. Because what the other person has from the outside, what the other thing is from the outside, it may seem so much better than what you have or what you're doing, but you don't know. And anytime we're shifting all of our energy and focus to what other people are doing, that snuffs out our own light. So this week, pay extra attention to when you are feeling less than, when you are comparing what you have, what you're doing to somebody else, and use that as an opportunity or an invitation to bring your attention back to your energy, back to where you may feel less than, and you're trying to find a way to fill it by comparing to somebody else. But the only way to fill that void, that comparison is trying to, because with comparison, often we're trying with the energy, we're trying to get an answer. We're trying to see, well, what are they doing? What is that? Why is that better? What can I do to have that, to do that, to make that? But that is a fool's errand because the grass is always greener. It's getting caught in a trap of comparison to what end? So when you are comparing yourself, using that as an invitation to close your eyes for a moment, take a nice deep breath, and ask yourself, your heart, your intuition, what do I need right now? What is the reason that I am comparing right now? What do I not feel I have? What do I not feel I am? And is that true? Because most of the time, it's not true. Most of the time, it is a distraction, and it is a actual signal from ourselves that there is something within us that we are missing, but it's not something that we can get from the other side of the fence. It's something that has to be filled from within us. So this week, what do you need from within? What are you not giving yourself? What is fueling the fire of comparison? And how can you support yourself so that you can show up in life in a more grounded, clear way? And then the animal. The animal for this week popped up, and it was the white rabbit. And I love the white rabbit because this immediately made me feel, oh, okay, this week we could find so much that we need to know by paying attention to what interests us, by following the white rabbit like in Alice in Wonderland, instead of following what is maybe trying to get our attention, which can sometimes be, often, something that we don't like, something that is kind of activating us, making us upset or annoyed or frustrated or feeling out of any kind of agency or control or autonomy. the way to help ourselves, not get caught up and spun around with everything that is trying to get our attention that is not the most positive, is to focus on what is interesting. What is interesting to you? What does it feel like when you are interested? And this feels a little interesting because these days that we're in, this time, there's so much being fed to us. Are you interested in this? Be interested in this. Let me catch your interest. Here we go. This. We're constantly being fed by the algorithms what we have told them that we're interested in. But all that is just one of those mirrors that keeps reflecting back and back and back and back and back. So you look and it's one thing you're interested in, and then it just shows you that same thing in different clothing over and over and over and over and over again. But we are multifaceted. We contain multitudes as people. So can you ignore the algorithm, ignore what you're being fed, and connect to what needs to be nourished? And usually that is, oh, that piques my interest. Let me learn about that. Let me find out more about this thing that is piquing my interest, instead of being fed the answers. Finding something interesting means the answer may not be there because you're learning about it. You're thinking about it. You're using your imagination. With the dawn of AI, we have to make sure that we are still in process, that we are not outsourcing our imagination, because that may seem really exciting. I saw a while ago somebody gave a tip to parents saying, use ChatGPT and ask them to write you a bedtime story that you can read to your kid. Sounds straightforward. People don't have a lot of time. They want to use this new tool that can scour everything ever written by somebody and put together a brand new, in quotes. So really, it's a mashup of other people's work. And then you have it. And then it's exciting. Oh, here's a whole story that didn't even exist before. Now I can read it to my son or daughter. But the process is missed. The imagination that you are sharing. The imagination that you're tuning into. Your creativity by just thinking of a story, saying one sentence and then another sentence, and then your child asks you a question about the story, and then you have to make it up again. This is an activity. This is interesting. It's not about the product. It's not about the story. But what happens to our brains? What happens to our creative spirit when we're not in that process anymore? When we're only looking at the end product as the goal? What happens to our intuition? Because I know, for me, that my creativity, my inspiration, comes from the same place as my intuition. And there is a place for AI, of course. But maybe make sure that you are not burying your creativity or trading in your creativity and your imagination for convenience or novelty. So this week, connect to what interests you. Find out, look for something interesting, and make sure that you know what it feels like to be interested. This feels important. And let's get some more inspiration from the rabbit. So the rabbit represents the energy of overcoming fear, new beginnings, fertility, trust, setting boundaries, family support, creative expression, sensitivity, but also luck and good fortune through your instincts. And I wanted to share an excerpt from Ted Andrews' book, Animals Speak, about the rabbit and everything that I share, connect with what resonates, and see how it inspires you. So with the rabbit, although some associate fear with the rabbit, it has wonderful abilities for defense. Rabbits often create forms to use for hiding and resting. To create a form, the rabbit scratches a shallow bowl into the earth or the grass that is open in the front and in the back. This enables it to escape if necessary. If a rabbit has shown up, it may indicate a need to do some more planning or check on things that you have already set in motion. You do not want to box yourself into a corner. Rabbits have a knack for avoiding being seen. They can freeze, hold perfectly still. They know that movement can be detected from great distances by many predators. If you are involved in competition, in work or in play, it will be important not to foreshadow your moves. Rabbits are also clever at doubling back, making quick and rapid turns. If they need to flee, they can be extremely fast. Learning to shift from freezing to great speed is something to learn. It will aid your success and enable you to take advantage of opportunities that may only present themselves for brief moments. Rabbits can show you how to recognize the signs around you. It can help you to attune to the lunar cycle and recognize the tides of movement within your life. This in turn will enable you to become more fertile in your life. So with the excerpt that I shared and all of the symbolism of the energy, how does that inspire you this week? Trust what resonates. What did it make you think of? What did it connect to for you? Did it bring back a memory? How did it inspire you? That's how you can use this animal energy for the week ahead. So it feels like quite a dynamic week with a lot of opportunity if we're open to it. And here are some intuitive questions, soul questions that you can answer as a journal prompt or answer yourself in a voice note or even just think about it on a walk. But you can answer one or all. Really trust what resonates. So the first question that you could answer for yourself would be, what ways of being or patterns are you ready to free yourself from? What ways of being or patterns are you ready to free yourself from? And another question you could answer, who or what are you comparing yourself to? Why does that grass seem greener? How can you be more grateful for where and who you are today? Really look into why you are comparing. What is that telling you about what you need? Who or what are you comparing yourself to? And why? And trust what comes. With all of these questions, do not judge what you feel or think when you ask yourself these. They're all about exploration and discovery and connecting to your own intuition. Okay, a third question you could answer. Write about a time when you followed the signs all around you. Where did it lead you and what did you learn? And then a last question that you could answer. What part of your future feels written that you want to rewrite? What part of your future feels written that you want to rewrite. And if that one resonates, do that one first. This could offer you a lot of insight and a lot of clarity. But it feels like a big, dynamic week. Continue to look for those signs and synchronicities. Release your grip on any puzzle or problem that you cannot find a solution for. Allow the solution to come. Catch yourself when you are comparing yourself or your circumstances to something else, and follow what interests you. Allow your imagination to light up. Be interesting by being interested. What does it feel like to be interested? And I hope that these energy impressions helped you to connect with what you needed to remember this week. And please look at the show notes and consider donating to the many different places and people that are deeply impacted by the LA fires. And thank you so much for listening to this episode of Intuitive Seek. I would love to hear if you resonated with the energy that I'm feeling and moving through. And if you had any thoughts or questions, please do not hesitate to send me a message through my website, treenlight.com, or through my Instagram at treenlight.healing. If you're curious about how my intuitive energy healing work can support you, go to the links in the show notes and you will see where to click, and you'll find all the ways that I can support you this year. Hugely appreciated if you subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcasts. And if you feel called to give some support, you can share this episode with a friend or leave a review. Either of those really help other people find my podcast. So thank you. And until next time, be kind to yourself, and I will talk to you next week.
Hi, Auntie Mary. I just wanted to say something very, very